Hi, everyone. Today I'm interviewing Shane Gunstone of Asmech Systems. Thank you, Shane, for being on this episode of Business Inspires. I'm really excited. I'm looking forward to learn more about your business. You mentioned just before we came on, you're not far off your 30-year anniversary, so that we can inspire business owners or those thinking about starting a business. So to get us started, perhaps you could give us an introduction to your business and more importantly, the problems that you solve for people.
Hi Rod, good afternoon to you, and thank you for this opportunity as well. I'm Shane Gunstone, as you said, the MD of Asmech Systems Limited. We're based in Mansfield in Nottinghamshire, and basically we manufacture conveyor systems, handling systems, and we get involved in automation and robotics, basically trying to automate things for our customers. Essentially, the majority of our work is in the dairy sector, so majority of what we do really is handling of milk bottles from single file to putting into varying sorts of packaging. And we basically sell ourselves as doing everything from the concept right up through to the commissioning. So we do every part of the deal basically. So from the idea to the installation, commission, sign off, and done and dusted.
Wow. Cool. So what inspired you to run your own business and set up Asmech Systems nearly 30 years ago now?
Always, if I'm honest, probably always a burning desire inside me to do something for myself. As a 16-year-old boy leaving school in 1978 left school into turbulent times really, onto a 3-day week. I managed to get an apprenticeship, but the world was, well, the business world was a turbulent place at that time, strongly run by unions and such like. So at that point, I just wanted to get skilled and be the best I can be at my job. But during that time, obviously, we became sort of Margaret Thatcher's children, I suppose. And if I'm honest with you, I think I've got to confess that she opened my eyes to possibility. And I was brought up in a mining community around a unionized family, but there's always something I think a little bit different about me, and so I got, like I said, fire in my belly that made me realize there was more to life than this, and in a sense wanting to be the best I could be, and I think in a lot of ways I've achieved that.
Brilliant. So my next question was going to be, did you always want to run your own business? But you've sort of answered that in the sense that you had that desire to want to do something for yourself.
I don't know necessarily, Rod, that I had designs on running my own business. I think as time went on, I think that became more apparent that was possible. Going back to like 1978, that was a pipe dream. That was beyond thought, I suppose. Certainly within this situation that the UK was in at that time, it wasn't even something you thought about. So I just wanted to be the best I could be, probably. And possibly at that time, maybe working for people. But as time went on, you recognised that you don't have to work for somebody else. You can do this for yourself. And even though it seems a little bit crazy to say that today with so many small businesses, small startups, them days, it was more of a pipe dream. It was still that situation where you thought, what, really me? Can I have my own business? But as time went on, you sort of think, yeah, I can actually.
And was there anything in particular that sort of then, enabled you to make that step from it being a pipe dream to actually, no, I'm now going to do it?
Yeah, born out of difficulty, really. I was working for a company, remain nameless, a company in Derby, that got into financial difficulty. I'd worked my way up through various positions to sort of like charge or today be like team leader and then workshop manager and then very senior within the organisation. I was running various organisations for other people, and I always felt that I learned a lot from them, but I learned a lot more about how not to do things more so than how to do things. And this last job that I had, it was run very badly and very dishonestly. So I actually I offered my resignation, and even just driving home from putting my notice in, I just decided I was going to have a go, let's say.
Brilliant. And it's quite interesting because that's what prompts a lot of people to make that leap. Sometimes, make that change. So what's been the hardest thing, do you think, you've been through during building the business up over the last 29, 30 years?
That's quite easy to. There's been difficulty, Rod. It's not a straight path. Every path has puddles, and it's certainly had its puddles. However, around 9-10 years ago, three major things actually. I on a personal basis, I lost my brother, and then 4 months after that, I lost a very good friend. And these are all deaths. And so I lost my brother, and I lost a very good friend who was actually involved with the business because he looked after my apprentices and did all the training and such like. And then 5 months after that, I lost my right-hand man at work. So 3 deaths within 9 months. Wow. Was a massive, massive challenge, and a downturn in work at the same time. It's one of those situations where you look back and you think, I'm not quite sure how I got over that, but it's a time thing, isn't it? It's not a certain date where you think, oh, that's it, we're over that now. It just fades with time. And I used to just basically pull up outside work, take a deep breath, and think, they're looking at me, and they're looking for me for inspiration and to get through this. And I felt that was my responsibility, and I did it. And so I'm in, as much as it was the hardest period of time, it was also probably the thing I'm most proud of that we got through. And also around that time, what I had forgotten, I took on a £500,000 mortgage as well on a new factory. So,
wow.
Yeah, put all that lot together, 3 deaths, downturn in work, £500,000 mortgage. Yeah, it was a challenge.
Wow, it sounds as though a lot of resilience to get through that period. Was there anything in particular? And I guess a lot of that is around sort of mindset and, keeping yourself going. Was there anything in particular that sort of you attributed that resilience to?
Yeah, a lot of it is upbringing, but also not being scared or embarrassed to go and ask for help from external people, mentors, and talk it through. I was also very, very, very fortunate to have a good bank manager at the time, who, well, he's almost like a friend. He's so supportive, because at times you feel like you're a bit of a broken record when you're saying to bank manager, yeah, we're sure that order's going to come, and then a month later you're saying, we're sure that order's going to come, and a month later you're saying the same thing. But he was very supportive, very I don't know, I can't really thank him enough, if I'm honest. And also, like I say, some mentors around me, some people that I could lean on that were nothing to do with the business, but people who sort of made me feel I wasn't out there on my own, and also I'm not the only person in the world that all this is happening to. There's worse things happen, and just keeping on going. And like I say, and resilience from childhood. I was a 1960s child into the 70s. We know what it's like to have it tough.
Brilliant. No, that's really good share. And it is true that quite often when you're in those situations, you do feel alone. So it is important that support network around you is so key to build and keep you focused during that period. So what do you think has been the biggest learning, as a business owner, as an employer? You've built a team, over your journey. Is there anything that stands out in terms of the biggest learning?
I think there's one big learning. It's different running a business today, Rod. It's nearly 30 years later now. The business I set up doesn't, resemble the business today. My biggest learning is, and me and you alluded to this earlier, is change. Don't fight it. If you fight it, you'll lose. And it's funny because I've had some challenges with the staff where I've implemented things, and I've had, you get the doubting Thomases, don't you? That challenge what you're doing. But I think if you firmly believe, then go ahead and do it. But change with it. I'm not saying that all change is easy. It certainly isn't easy. I'm not saying that all change is beneficial. But don't fight change. You have to embrace things. And it's like saying the next big one is AI. And in some ways, really, I'm coming to the end of my career now. I'm nearly 63, so I don't anticipate being around, in 10 years' time. I don't anticipate being around in 5 years' time, in a business term, in life, yes. But so yeah, but make sure it's changed to suit you, and adapt your business for the modern world, because if you don't, if you don't, you'll die. If you're a dinosaur, there's no dinosaurs left now. They died for a reason.
Really good share. If you could do something differently, looking back, and if you started over again, is there anything you would do differently?
Ooh, tough one. We're bespoke, and that's created issues in terms of business being more up and down. Right? It's not business. I mean, I don't think any business is are overly consistent. We've been in business nearly 30 years, so we're doing something right. But being bespoke has had its challenges. Sometimes if you're making a product that is just a buy off the shelf product, life would be, and maybe it'd been a little bit easier. But if I go back, and the honest answer to that would be no, I wouldn't. I like what we do. I'm very proud of who we are. I think we've got a fantastic reputation, typical of businesses in the Mansfield and Nottinghamshire area. We hide our light under a bushel. We do a very good job, then we tell nobody. But I'm very proud of what we've achieved, what we've done, and so I have to remember who it is that's run. It's me. So, and this is probably the best suited type of business to me and my personality and my ability and my skills.
So that sort of doing things right over the 30 years, obviously the business has grown from where it started to where it is now. And you've alluded to, it can be a bit up and down at times, but that overall getting it right, that growth, is there anything in particular you attribute that to?
Yeah, staff, people, picking the right kind of people, surrounding yourself with people better than yourself, not being scared to delegate. I'm a big delegator. I'm not, I've never tried to be everything to everybody. I know my strengths, I know my weaknesses. And also continuous training as well. We're very good at taking 16 and 18-year-olds straight from school and putting them through the time, give them all the right values, all the right skill sets. And basically surround yourself with a good, strong, trustworthy team. You don't always get it right? I'm not going to sit here and say, everybody I've employed has been perfect. It hasn't, but I think the harder you work at it and the more effort you put into it, the more likely you are to get it right. And overall, I think we do well with it.
Brilliant. So you sort of alluded to not being there in 10 years' time earlier in the conversation, but do you know where you see the business being in 5 years' time?
Wow. I actually think that it's going to change enormously. It's changed in the last 30 years. And the change in the last 10 to 15 years has been enormous. So God, I really embracing AI, perhaps maybe not more people, certainly more turnover, getting more done, getting more factories into more and more automation, because I think people, it's quite obvious that people don't want the low-skilled jobs, which is what we're trying to replace anyhow. So probably getting busier, putting automation into places where taking away the repetitiveness of work and the low-skilled stuff.
Brilliant. So thinking about the rest of 2024, we've only got probably 6 weeks left now and into sort of 2025. Are there economic challenges that you can see that are going to present the business during that time?
Absolutely, yeah. I will, I'll be straight about it. Payment terms are getting harder. Again, without naming a customer, we had a customer who 15 or 16 years ago put all payments on 60 days date of invoice. And at that point, they were probably our worst payer. We've never accepted more than 60 days end of month anyway. And that company, from changing nothing, so paying you on 60 days from date of invoice, and now probably our best payer, because everybody's wanting 60 days end of month. We used to get prepayments at one time because we were getting involved in some rather large projects. But a prepayment now comes 6 days at the end of the month as well. So, it's I think cash flow is a big challenge, and I think it's making entrepreneurial spirit a challenge, because to go into business today, I think you sort of need a quarter of a year's turnover as bunts, so to speak. You know what I mean? As surplus. So yeah, there's some challenges at the moment, and that I think that is one of the biggest. And running out, I network a lot, and I speak to a lot of companies that are worried about running out of money. The banks, unless you've got something to offer them, the banks aren't particularly helpful unless they can have something off you as a guarantee. So yeah, it's I think there's some challenges upcoming. Really do think there's some, and the rest of, I mean, this year hasn't been a great year, again, as we spoke earlier. The year when there's a general election, it can be a turbulent year, because our customers need confidence in the economy, because they're directly affected from that. And obviously, normally after the election it kicks on. But from after, when the election was over and done with, we then announced that there was going to be a budget that was going to hurt. And you have to remember, some of the people that we're dealing with are employing low skilled labour, probably on minimum wage, and all their minimum wage been put up, and it's been put up. And what we have found is that they really are tightening right down now. I do believe that things will turn, but at this moment in time, it's challenging, it's tough, and the fear of running out of money is real.
So what's the number one focus in your business, or for you in your business right now?
Turning inquiries into orders, as much as working for fiercely on that, and making sure that the numbers stack up. Because if it means that we've got to pull back to go forward, it wouldn't be the first time I've pulled back to go forward numerous times over the 30 years in business, then we'll have to pull back to move forwards.
Yeah, and that's a good point. I heard a speech by Deborah Meaden, and she's very much that as business leaders, we control the narrative, but the numbers are the reality. So yeah, it's important that you understand and can interpret those numbers as well. So just thinking about work-life balance, would you say that I know when you first start out in business, it tends to be more work than life. Do you think you've got a reasonable work-life balance now?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, but I think that comes with time and knowledge, and also the changing in the world. I mean, it wasn't beyond the realms of possibility. There was a stage in my life where I'd worked more 7-day weeks than I'd done 5-day weeks. So, which seems incredible by today's standards. There's very few people working a 7-day week now. But yeah, as time gone on, my mindset's had to adjust. I used to think at one time, if we weren't doing overtime, we weren't doing very well, and so my mindset's adjusted on that. I'm trying to. I think I've adjusted to the modern world. I work a 3-day week now, so that's helping me. I didn't want to just go all the way through on a 5-day week and then jump over the end of a cliff when I decide to walk away from the business. So I do a 3-day week now. It doesn't always work out that way, but I think I've got a good work-life balance. I think having had nearly 30 years in business and many years before that in senior management, I just think I'm just more knowledgeable today, and again, surround myself by people, right kind of people, and be open to people's opinions. You like say listening to podcasts and things like that. We do need a work-life balance. Strangely enough, even when I was working 7 days a week, I've always sort of enjoyed working. So I think when you really enjoy what you're doing, it isn't sort of like working really. So so I wouldn't change anything. But yeah, I think now I've got a decent balance there now. One time I think there has been times during that, since I've left school, there's been times when it's been tiring, and I know I've got it wrong, but sometimes it's just circumstantial and you can't help that. You just got to get through that period of time. But if you said to me today, have you got a good work-life balance, I'd say yes, I have. Yeah.
And what's the main thing that sort of, because there's probably a few people who heard that answer going, wow, that's sort of 3-day week, that's a dream. What was the main sort of steps that enabled you to transition to get to that position?
Good team of people in the factory who I can trust, rely upon. delegate to, know that they'll do the job well to the best of their ability. That's enabled me, you know, to obviously you can't just walk away if something's not functioning correctly. Knowing they know I'm available, so if they need to speak to me about anything, I'm always available anyway. But also sometimes, Rod, you just got to do it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that's really my reason and the reason I'm able to do what I do.
Brilliant, fantastic. So I guess, you know, if you could look back and see and speak to an 18-year-old Shane Gunstone, is there any advice you'd give yourself now, you know, looking back, if you know, setting out as an 18-year-old?
Yeah, don't doubt yourself. Don't doubt yourself. You know, you're a good lad. You've got the right, attributes. You've certainly got the right attitude towards work, and maybe you've even done it a little bit earlier. I was 32, I think, when I went into business. No, 34. I was 34 when I went into business. Yeah, just back yourself, and yeah, just you're capable. You're not, you know, it's not beyond you. But like I say, the world, you know, 18-year-old, what's that? That's 1980. It's a different world. It's a totally different world. Certainly wasn't a world of opportunity, and certainly, if I'm honest, you'd never looked at somebody like I would have looked upon myself and thought one day I'll have a business of my own. You know, it's like, you know, it was still beyond the realms of thought even then. I think it sort of came more to me in the late 80s, I would say. So late 80s, I started getting that thing, you know, I think you could do this. And then, like I said, I had to default really then in, 1995, and I did it.
Brilliant. So just remind us what problems you solve for people, and you know, what the business does again.
Well, basically, I mean, a customer typically call us. They've got, they could have an issue, or it could be an old tired piece of equipment, or they want automation. So in essence, this one typically that we're doing at the moment. Again, I won't mention the end customer, but they put milk bottles into steel trolleys. When you go into Sainsbury's or any supermarket, you go into fridge area and you fetch a 4-pint milk bottle out of like a steel trolley. We put those 4-pint milk bottles into that steel trolley. So from a single file, around 200 bottles a minute, and we'll collate them and we'll put them into those steel trolleys via robot. So we're automating using robotics, using the latest technology, and making our customers' lives easier for themselves. You know, so we're taking them away from repetitive strain injury potential, you know, from packing things and whatnot. So we're trying to automate things as much as what we can, and speed things up, because, you know, when we first got into this game, we're probably dealing with 100 bottles a minute, and now we're dealing with 200 bottles a minute. We're dealing with in some instances sort of around 1,000 bottles a minute in lines like Lucozade and whatnot. So, you know, we're forever moving things along and automating, and in that sense really is keeping the price down in things, because you couldn't hand pack, and you can't manually work with some of the speeds of the machines that we're working with.
And if people want to find out a bit more about you and what you do, how's the best way for them to find that out?
On the webpage, the website is obviously www.asmechsystems.co.uk, and it's all there. We're pretty good on social media as well. You know, we've got pages, and, you know, web page. We're all over the place, LinkedIn, you name it. Maybe not smashing you, not out there in your face, so to speak. Typical engineers, like I say, we do a very good job. Then we don't normally tell anybody. But we've improved a lot over the years, recognising that is the way forward, you know. So we are out there, and we've got an incredibly good reputation with our customer network and within the industries we live in, that we work within. I mean, in terms of companies putting automation into dairies, and when you consider this, about 8 or 9 major dairies in the UK, all owned by Arla and Muller, they're the major dairies. And we serve every one of those. So, you know, we've got a cracking reputation. We do a lot of repeat work, Rod. And I would suggest that even today, we're probably about 20 live projects on the go. At least 19, possibly 20 of those, all with existing customers. So just it's repeat work that we sort of mostly focus around.
Amazing. So thank you so much for the openness and honesty in answering those questions, Shane. There's some really brilliant stuff come out there that I'm sure is going to inspire business owners, and particularly that when things got really tough, that resilience, reaching out to other people, the support network, building that team. There's some really strong lessons in there, and you've got to the position now where you can start to balance that work life, as you mentioned, with 3 days a week as a result of all of that. So that's been really, really cool. So thank you so much for your time this afternoon.
No worries at all. Thank you. And thank you for the opportunity.